Hello, beautiful people. It's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today we're back again with another video from Piers. Let's check it out.
With almost 70 years of service, the Queen has travelled more widely than any other monarch in British history, with tradition and duties being passed on to each generation, and in the past was always widely celebrated. But in recent years, questions have been raised repeatedly about whether the royal family should do more to address their colonial past. Well, Prince Charles attempted to broach the subject during a 3-day tour of Canada.
As we look to our collective future, as one people sharing one planet, we must find new ways to come to terms with the darker and more difficult aspects of the past.
Well, the Sunday Times Royal Editor Roy Nikar joins me now, along with 𝑗𝑜𝑖𝑛 Andrews, Professor of Black Studies at Birmingham City University. Welcome to both of you. So, Roy, you've been around this royal block a long time. It seems to me that what's been happening is with these royal tours, which used to be not that controversial, normally pretty celebratory, they've become now almost every single time controversial, and it all goes back to colonialism, to the British Empire, how much the royal family on behalf of this country should be apologising for the sins of our past. You've been on a lot of these tours. Are you feeling a rising tide of controversy about that?
I have to say, in all honesty, no. And I think it depends where you go. I mean, I was in Belize with the Cambridges. I went to Barbados with the Prince of Wales for the handover. And actually, he made a really interesting speech during that tour. He talked about acknowledging that slavery was abhorrent, but he didn't apologise. William did the same in the Caribbean, but he didn't apologise. He talked about, they acknowledged our past. I think it's right to do that. And I think we've got to recognise...
It sounds apologetic to me.
It does, but it's
I mean, I may not actually say the words, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of regret, we've got to look back on the past, a lot of revisionism back to a previous era, history. And I just wonder where that stops, because isn't it going to affect every tour they do?
I don't think so, and I think it's a recognition by members of the royal family and the palace and the government on whose behalf they're travelling on lots of these tours, that we are in different times. We didn't have tours for the best part of 2 years. We are in different times. Black Lives Matter has happened, other movements have happened, and I think the royal family feel it's their role to sort of stay relevant, to acknowledge when things have gone wrong, and I thought that statement by William after the Caribbean tour was fascinating. He acknowledged that things had gone wrong, and said the whole point of tours is to go and hear and listen and reflect. I don't think it's the role of the royal family to go around the world apologising, and they've stopped short of that, and I think there's a reason for that.
Interesting distinction. So let's bring in 𝑗𝑜𝑖𝑛 Andrews. I know you're not the world's biggest fan of the monarchy. In fact, you might well be one of the least biggest fans of the monarchy. But putting that aside, 𝑗𝑜𝑖𝑛, this issue of whether the royal family, on behalf of Britain, should be going around expressing themselves in the way that they are about the colonial past, about the empire and so on. My question for you really is, does it really make any difference? Why is everyone clamouring for the royals to do this? Does it really matter if the royal family keeps saying, we've got to think about what happened before, we've got to reflect and so on?
Well, I think it's about time, is what I would say. It's the 21st century, and the Queen is the head of state of 15 countries, including my family's from Jamaica. And it's frankly been ridiculous since independence, and it's ridiculous now, which is why these topics are coming up. I mean, I do agree with you on this one, though. I mean, an apology is meaningless. I mean, apology is pointless. This is about reparations, this is about repenting, and really there's nothing the royal family could do, and the Queen in particular, to apologise, other than really resign, get rid of them, gone, and give all their money back to the people they stole it from in the colonies.
Is the level of entitlement and victimhood from lots of people, or from people who keep complaining about things that happened in the past but are not ready to fix things that are happening in the future or that are happening now? Because I mean, everybody is so about how the royal family should apologize for things that happened in the past, but nobody is talking about fixing things now so that people have a better life now, and talk about other corruptions or other things that are happening now. So why are people so much invested in the past, or invested in things that happened in the past, that lots of us or lots of people were not even born, but you're so angry about things that happened to your ancestors? So you want to tell me, if someone, or if you offend someone, so the person should continuously feel hatred, and your family should continuously apologize to their family as long goes, even when you've passed on. Are you serious? How is it that people still want to believe or live in this victimhood mindset, be so entitled to lots of things, and make it seem like, oh, they deserve it? No, you don't. If you want to fix something, if you so want to fix something, focus on the now. I mean, lots of things are happening now. Nobody's talking about it. People don't want to invest. I wish these people that are so crying victimhood or crying whatever, that are talking about the things that happened in the past and hated what happened in the past. Everybody hated what happened in the past. But I mean, your own mind is, oh, somebody should pay you, somebody should pay somebody, or people are victims of things that happened in the past. How about now? If you, why are you not so invested in the things that are happening now and say, oh, let's fix the now. Let's make sure that now is everything is correct. Of course, there are people that victimhood pays, and people that are paid to promote victimhood or sell some level of entitlement, like they are entitled to something. The essence of learning history is so that history is not repeated. But of course, there are people who want history to be repeated. In fact, they want it so bad that if they could have a chance or opportunity, they could go back and live in that era. Come on, you're no longer in that era. You're now in a different era, different experience. So now, focus on the now. Fix things in the now, or fix things on the now. Lots of people learn history so that they even use it for their own gain, to keep people locked in or control people, because they need people they can control. So they tell you what to do, tell you who to hate, tell you what to think, tell you what to feel, because they love this idea of being in control. Some people learn it so they pick the part of history or the side of history that they want to counter. History happened. It so happened that, oh, lots of bad things happened in history. So do you want to tell me that for every bad thing that happened in history, everybody should go and meet people and say, oh, I don't like this that happened, want to counter this and that? If you so don't like what happened in history, the essence is learning history so it's not repeated. But of course, why are people so much invested in things that happened in the past and not focused on the now? And say, okay, this so happened. Now we've learned from our mistakes. People have learned from their mistakes. Now, let us each hold people accountable for the things that are happening now, so that history does not repeat itself. But I don't see that. Rather, you see people say, oh, they are victims of their of the past dealings of, or the past sufferings of their ancestors. Are you serious? So why don't people want to say, oh, they are victors of the events or the things that happened to their ancestors or their ancestors did? You want to tell me it was only bad things that happened in the past? Of course, no. They were good and they were bad. So why are people picking and choosing only the bad side and focused on only the bad sides? Why are people doing that? To sell victimhood, because victimhood for now is for a price. And there are people who are paid tons of money to promote or sell victimhood. And for how long are you going to do this? For how long?
I mean, look, in a way, it's the same debate that people have been having in America and Britain about statues, for example, of people who perhaps were controversial public figures who had good sides and bad sides. From Churchill, we saw the statues of Churchill, Mandela and Gandhi boarded up at Parliament Square. We've just seen Margaret Thatcher's has been egged within hours of being put up. You're seeing the same thing happening in America. My point about that and about the British Empire and all of these things is that there is good and bad in all these things. Why are we so preoccupied? But let me ask the question. Why are we so preoccupied with looking back to times in history and focusing almost exclusively now on the negative?
Because A, it's not just history, so and B, the history is so negative, it shapes the present. So when you have a tour of the royal family, and bear in mind the Royal African Company was the company that enslaved more Africans than any other company in the entire world, that got rich off slavery, that got rich off colonialism. The Queen still wears jewels from India when she goes around to these places, etc. And they're wealthy because of that oppression. And then you go to somewhere like Jamaica and the Caribbean, which is poor. We're only there because of slavery, because of that oppression. That's not some something that happened historically. That's something we're dealing with today, which is why people are obviously
Does Britain get any credit
because
for...
this is not something in the past?
Right, but does Britain get any credit for helping to abolish international slave trade? Do you give them any credit for that, the country?
No, when you are the country that enslaved more people than anybody else, you don't get any credit whatsoever for finally deciding to stop that practice.
Really?
No, there's no credit deserved, and it's farcical to suggest.
So no society can
get
evolve
credit for stopping slavery.
Right, but see, that's where I don't agree with you. I think they should get. I think everyone, countries, people should always get credit for acknowledging things are wrong and changing them. Otherwise, how do you ever evolve as a society?
No, but then if you're going to acknowledge it, that means you have to repent for it. That means you have to repay the
But what
debt.
does that mean,
and as
repent?
I said, people in the Caribbean today are poor. Well, no,
but
that means reparations. People today in the Caribbean are poor because of what Britain did.
What do you want the royals to do? What is the repentance?
They should renounce. I will tell you right there. The only thing the royals can do on this issue is renounce the throne, dissolve their assets, and give them to the Caribbean and India and the rest of the colonies. Simple. That is repentance. That is reparation. And anything short of that, I agree with you, is pointless.
Okay. Right. I mean, look, I get why passions run high about these things. I get some of the points Candy's making. The royals aren't going to do this, though, are they? I mean, there's a limit to, I think, how far this is going to go. I think the royals will say we need to mark it and respect it and look back and reflect and so on, but they're not going to go as far as Candy's talking about.
They're definitely not going to renounce the throne and give up all their assets and return them to the Caribbean and the rest. I think what we've seen in the last 3 tours is the mood music change. We've heard Charles and William reflecting on the past. That's clearly been in conjunction with the government and the Foreign Office, but I think that is probably as far as they're going to go.
You're going to be very busy the next couple of weeks. One question for you before we let you go. Is the Queen going to make her own Jubilee? Every time we think we're not going to see her again, up she pops looking dazzling and radiant.
My prediction on that is, yes, she will.
She will, because she's just the ultimate trooper, right?
She's the ultimate trooper. I think we'll see her at trooping, and I think we will see her, fingers crossed if she feels up to it, at the Epsom Derby.
Candy, despite your reluctance to celebrate the monarchy, will you say anything nice about the Queen as she celebrates her Platinum Jubilee?
I don't even know what date it is. That's how much disinterested I have in this whole debacle.
Candy, always good to catch up with you. Thank you very much for joining me. And Roy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So it's evident when people read history, lots of people only point the blame to some particular group of people and only one particular group of people, the white man. We don't see any sense of accountability from the black man. We don't see any sense of accountability from the Arab man or from the Middle Eastern man. We don't see any sense of accountability from other parts or other people, just one particular group of people, the white man, the rich white man. So you want to say the rich white men should give their wealth or what they owned or what they have to poor nations. I mean, look at the countries today. I mean, can we focus on today? Yeah, let us focus on today. Look at the African countries. Who are the real African leaders? So is it the white man's fault that most of the African countries are poor today? Is it the white man's fault that they've been colonized? Some of them were colonized long time ago. They were let go or they were freed. So now they are the ones, they are the leaders. The black men are the leaders, but no sense of accountability from their side. But nobody wants to blame them. Nobody, of course, the black man is not at fault. It is not always the black man's fault. It is the white man's fault. The white man is the one doing this. It's always the white man. When are people going to take some sense of accountability and say, yes, they did this thing wrong and let them fix it? But of course, the white man or the royal family should give all they have and step down. To give to who exactly? Because what type of entitled behavior or mindset is that, and victim blaming is that? So tell me, so should the black men, the rich wealthy black men, should they also sell what they have and give to the poor white people or poor white countries? Should they do so? Because as we know, we also have rich or wealthy black people. So should they also give what they have to poor white people? You say this, if you're only going to point blames to only one group of people or point blames to somebody else and don't see any part of your fault or any part of other people, but you're only choosing or picking a particular side or a particular group of people to blame and not collectively, then something must be wrong with you. And you know what? You're only picking and choosing the side that you want to counter and leave another particular side. Because so far in history, as history goes, everybody hurt everybody, and everybody, one way or the other, had some good sides as well. So why dwell and focus only on the negative? Why? When are people going to liberate themselves free, completely, and say, oh yeah, we are free? Remember, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. You see, Bob Marley, back in the day when he sang this song, he was not crazy. He was not a crazy man, and he sang this song long time ago when people were still suffering, but he foresaw the future. He is not a crazy person. At least the original person that first said it, people may not remember him, but I mean, lots of people must have heard or listened to a Bob Marley song and must have known or must know who Bob Marley is, or must have heard of Bob Marley before. So obviously, in one of his songs, he said it. Redemption song. Redemption. You're free physically, but you're still enslaved in your mind. That's a huge lot price to pay. And I mean, lots of people have a really long way to go, but I would love your thoughts in the comments down below. You can share other useful information you think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on all of this stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.